something that I have found throughout my journey in coaching and consulting and doing all these things is the first year or two are super slow because you're just building everything up. By year 3 to 5, you've got everything you could possibly need. Someone has a problem, boom, you've got it. And so it's not about having to create all these different things all at once. I would actually be looking at what are the most common problems that come up and then just create a resource for that as a solution. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy, and today I'm joined by two absolute legends who are not only partners in life, but business too. The powerhouse duo behind Studio 85, Indy and Heraldo. You might already know them as the #1 ranked Dubsado specialist in the world, across all industries globally, but what makes their story even more powerful is the heart behind it. Indy brings over 7 years of first-hand experience as a bridal makeup artist, while Heraldo, originally from Chile, spent 12 years in the Air Force as an engineer before completely changing careers, moving countries, and rebuilding a life from scratch. Together, they've helped over 130 wedding and beauty pros from Australia, New Zealand, the US, and the UK reclaim 97% of their time by streamlining their client experience and back-end systems using Dubsado, so they can show up more professionally and spend less time stuck in admin hell. In this episode, we chat about what it really takes to run a sustainable seasonal bridal business that isn't relying on brides getting married twice, the moment Indy knew she needed to make a change, and how Heraldo went from Air Force engineer to makeup artist to systems king, what Dubsado is actually used for, and how it's helping wedding pros get 20 plus hours of their week back. Plus, we get real about copycats, comparison culture, and staying in your lane when the industry feels like it's getting louder and messier by the minute. So let's dive in. Indy and Heraldo, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling right now?
What an intro.
Thank you so much for having us here.
It's really exciting because if you are listening to this episode right now, this is one of the in-person episodes we're filming, which I love doing. I think it's a different kind of vibe. Like obviously Riverside and being able to do these live interviews over Zoom kind of setting is amazing, but doing them in person is just so much more fun. So thank you for taking the time to come in today.
Our pleasure. Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
So I'm really curious. Makeup is what you first came into the industry for, and now you guys aren't even doing makeup anymore. And I say guys because if you don't know, Heraldo used to also help Indy do makeup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way back to the start and really understand your story and journey of how you became Dubsado specialist and what that even means, because so many people are listening like, what's Dubsado? Basically, in simple language, they have this booking system set up for bridal and wedding pros, and it just gets rid of all the hectic admin that people are wasting time. Like you really need to check it out. So firstly, makeup always interests me because it hasn't got the same client cycle or return rate as other services like skin, lashes, nails, or brows do. I mean, maybe some people get married a couple of times, but you'd hope you're not doing one wedding and then seeing them a couple of years later for their second one. Indy, you've been in the world of beauty and weddings for pretty much over half a decade now. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a business owner trying to run a business that's quite seasonal?
I think ultimately it comes down to preparation, because when you're in the wedding industry, you know that it's a seasonal job that you're doing essentially, and you need to plan and prepare for that. And I think it comes down to being creative as well, because it doesn't just pop up every year that it's winter and you're like, oh crap, I've got no bookings. It happens every single year. And there are so many things that you can do to actually have an income outside of weddings that are wedding related. For example, you have all of your peak season weddings, and then why not reach out to them when it gets slower and say, hey, would you like to come in for a lesson and learn how to actually recreate that look we did for your wedding? Or hens parties, like paint and sip, Pinot and Picasso style things. You can do that for hens parties, but they get ready and do their makeup, all learn, have a group lesson, and then go out. You can do so many different things in the slower season and just catch up. For me, that was a huge work on the business time, because when you're in the swing of wedding season, you literally do not even have that chance. So just prepping and being creative with how you can, I guess, keep the business running in those slower times.
It's quite interesting because you obviously do go from a state where weddings, you can only take on so many clients, right? It's not like you can be in 5 places at once. You're going to have to say no, or you're going to have to hire a team. What did you find was the most challenging part coming out of that wedding season? Were you burnt out for a while? Were you trying to make back income? Were you thinking, oh my gosh, how do I set up all these other ways to make money? Did you have much of a plan, or did you just kind of run with it as it went through the year?
I mean, initially when I started the business, I didn't really have a plan because I had no idea what I was in for. And obviously when you're starting out, you're not as busy. But when I used to come out of wedding season, when I was really booked and busy, I thankfully wasn't too burnt out because I had a system, which we'll go into, which is a huge reason of why we do what we do, is because of how much sanity it saves you. But yeah, no, I always would plan ahead in slow season. I'm like, cool, that's when I'm going to work on my website or do this or do those tasks that build up that you think, oh, I need to do those things, but when do I have the time? So I would just plan ahead and make sure slow season, that's when you really heavily invest in yourself and go hard.
I love that advice. I think it's really a lot of pressure to put on yourself to think that I have to be growing the business and I have to be doing all these things at once. And if you know, okay, cool, in that slower season, this is what we're building. So then we're booked out, we make the money, and then we can reinvest when it comes back down. It's like creating your own cycle and understanding how to move with the cycle.
Yeah.
So did you ever have a second job to support you in the off season, or did you just always manage your bookings and cash flow to get through?
When I was full-time in my business, no, I didn't have a second job to support the slow season. Obviously, when I started, I came from a corporate background. So when I started the business, I went from full-time to part-time in my corporate job and then eventually went full-time. But once I went full-time, I never went back through slow season. I think, again, you know it's coming, so you can just prepare for it.
What were you doing in corporate? Like whenever I hear someone go, I was in corporate, I'm like, what could it be? Are you in mining? Are you admin? Are you HR? Like, why does corporate sound like such a, I'm in corporate.
I'm in corporate and I wear blazers and pants. I was an executive assistant for a marketing team. So that meant I reported to the main, the head of the marketing team, and I would do, it's just so wide what you do. You know, you'd be writing reports from the meetings, writing all the minutes, organizing big events, planning things, just day to day, grabbing her coffee.
I think I'm going to have to upgrade Andre from virtual assistant to executive assistant because she does everything.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was a great job. I loved it. When you work for somebody that you really like and respect, it's great.
So tell me a little bit more about this whole how you met Heraldo, because I think it's really interesting having a husband-wife duo come onto the podcast. Usually you look at people in the beauty industry and it is very female dominant, as in how many guys do you see in the beauty industry? And then if there are males in the beauty industry, most of the time they are gay.
Yes.
So nothing wrong with that. I just think it's really interesting to see, okay, how did Heraldo fit into the picture? How did you meet? How did he come into the business? Like, I want to know it all.
I was also in corporate.
Actually, no, Heraldo, you tell the story.
Might be different.
I technically was, because I was working for Macquarie
Bank.
But the thing is, what people don't know is that I was just the cleaner there. And so when things will happen in these desks, I will go there and clean in this desk, and that's how we met. And
yeah, so Heraldo came here. He was only meant to be here for a year. He came to learn English and he got a job as a cleaner because he could not speak a word of English.
Yes.
I met him, 3 days after he got here, and he came up to my desk and I was like, hi, how are you? And he was like, yes.
Hola.
Not even. I did not understand anything at all.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then we used to sit and have lunch together, and he used to speak to me on Google Translate to practice his English. Very quickly, that turned into, 3-4 months later, after we met, we moved in together, which was wild. And then, 7 years later, we're still here. And Heraldo, I mean, I don't want to speak on your behalf. You go for this, but he...
Are you not doing that already?
That's what marriage is. That's it.
This was my question. Anyway, you go for it.
I was going to say that you felt really lost because you came from such a big career and then your qualifications didn't mean anything here. And you always supported me when I said, I want to start my own business. You were like, okay, go for it. And he was honestly the most supportive partner that I could have had throughout that time. So he saw me being so happy and free and he was like, oh, I want that. And I was like, just jump in. Let's do this together.
I was just discovering my phase of being free, because in the military, you are always told what to do.
And
I was really good at what I used to do. And now I came here to Australia after the 12 months that got extended. I stayed here and then I got lost because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. My life was planned. Actually, my colleagues are retiring next year. So your whole life is planned. And now I'm free to do whatever I want, and the sky's the limit. So it was a very difficult period when I needed to find who I was. So then I got into so many things, from cleaning to warehouses to sales. And that opened my eyes, because I thought, well, I have no qualifications here. I can barely speak the language, but by working in sales and being good at it, I'm making more money than engineers here in Australia. And that really opened my eyes, because back home, I was an engineer and I had to go through uni for so many years to be able to achieve certain economical position. Whereas here, if you have the work ethic, the drive, you have no limits. Australians have been so good to me. They gave me so many handovers and so many possibilities to achieve things. And that was fantastic. So then from sales, Indy was doing makeup, and then, that's how we got to the point.
Isn't it so interesting here? Life must have been so much different from what it was like in Chile. And your perspective is the sky's the limit. There's so much opportunity and you were just willing to give it a go. Whereas there's other people in Australia who they feel like the government owes it to them. They sit on JobKeeper, Job Seeker, whatever you want to call it, and they just don't want to try. And I think it's really inspiring to see that that's your perspective coming here, because when you take yourself out of that comfort zone of your current environment and you see how many new opportunities can come from it, you had no ability to speak English. You went into a sales role. Sales is like psychology. It is communication, like not being able to do that and then getting to the position where you're going, I can make more money than an engineer doing that. Like that's really inspiring. How did you find that shift of identity from having, let's say, this societal status, getting the uni degree, getting the qualification, to working from the ground up? Did that have an impact on your confidence? Like, how did you overcome that?
Oh, well, that was very difficult. I think for many years I was in a huge depressive myself. I was depressed. I was frustrated. My qualifications could not be recognized here unless I go back to uni and study 3-4 years, basically paying for a title, for a diploma. I wasn't going to learn anything, and that frustrated me. And I thought, well, now. So I got into the chance to be able to do sales, and then one thing led to the other. I was putting so much effort into it. I was trying to learn the language and perfect it as much as you can, because I've been 7 years here and I still make so many mistakes when I speak. So many clients tell me, hey, look, I didn't really understand you in the beginning. And people don't see. People don't see.
Dramatic.
No, but people don't see behind the scenes. I read out loud. I'm really trying. I'm not that typical South American that came here and stayed within the bubble of the Spanish speakers and did not put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. I was doing it. So it was very difficult to be able to build myself again. But because of that, while walking, I started finding, well, I'm really good at this. I get along with people. I'm very honest. And that is something that was very difficult, because you put a uniform, and I was selling luxury cars. You put a uniform and people walk into the dealership and immediately think that you are going to scam them, or, so it was very difficult for me to be able to approach them in a way that was ethical, and they felt supported ethically the whole journey. So that was my footprint within the industry. And that is something that I fell in love with. And that is what ultimately propelled me to become the salesperson that I was.
So you weren't a sleazy car salesman?
Never
Maybe
been.
To Indy, but no one else.
Never been, yeah.
Give it to me.
So I know when things started getting busier for you, as in Studio 85, Heraldo, you started stepping in and helping out with the makeup. Now, I know with some makeup artists and also hairdressers, like literally anyone who builds a personal brand, sometimes clients or the brides, they have You just have to take a little bit of convincing to let them know that, hey, you're going to be looked after by my team member, and it may not necessarily be the owner themselves doing the service, or, maybe they do this part and then the other person does that. Heraldo, I'm super curious. How did the brides respond when you came onto the site? Like, were they taken a little back, or were they 100% fine with it?
Actually, I'll go there as an assistant. I'll help her carrying things, and then she will start with the first person. I'm just a slide in the end. Military tactics, right? If you remove, they don't see it. So she will start, and then half an hour before the next person, I will start doing the skin prep.
Yep.
Hydration, exfoliation.
Ooh,
foundation, all the
foundations, powders, the concealers and everything. So I was preparing for Indy to do her craft. People never question it. I used to bounce with Indy really well. We used to bounce very well with each other. So
did they think you were together, or?
Oh, most people thought that I was gay. Actually, I'll say 80% of all the clients thought that I was gay, and they were shocked when they knew that we were married or we were a couple, and it was a very interesting dynamic.
But in fairness, behind the scenes, I had it in my contract. Initially, when we first started bringing Heraldo along, there was one wedding that somebody said, hey, I don't feel comfortable having him there. That was because it was an Indian family, and culturally they didn't have any men on the premises, so I completely understood that. But then I put it in my contract that the assistant will be a male, so if anyone has any problem with it, then they have to pay for me to bring somebody else. But because of that clause in the contract, I believe everyone was pretty aware when we rocked up together. And also because the timing schedule, I would send a breakdown schedule, and they would see Indy and Heraldo, so they were aware. I think transparency is the best thing that you can do. You don't just surprise.
100%. And if you're also showing behind the scenes or, stories or content and Heraldo's in it, at least people have been exposed to him, so they already feel like they know him. I think when you look at these personal brands, if they have a team behind them and they're only posting themselves and then, hey, the team's here, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
you had a team? What?
Yeah.
Even I had that, I don't know if I'd call it an issue, but I was, signing up a few clients and they're working with me one-on-one to help build out their education or training or coaching platform. And so I have a website designer. She does conversion rate optimization. And then I also have my VA, and then I have an OBM, and I have all these different people. And then they're like, oh, I thought I just got you. And I was like, no, you get the experts, you get the team. And so having to start talking about that more so people aren't just like, oh, it's just you. I'm like, no, I got a team. I could not do this on my own.
I don't have that many hands.
Yeah. I know you guys also started an e-commerce business together. Tell me all about that. What was that experience like?
So for us, that was coming into COVID, and anyone in the beauty industry knows we got hit hard, particularly in Sydney. I think you guys over in Perth maybe weren't as affected, but Sydney, it was, I think, 8 months or something that we couldn't work. It was a long time, and I had just gone full-time in my business, and Heraldo wasn't a permanent resident yet, so we couldn't get any government grants. We had no assistance financially. So we were like,
I'm not starting an OnlyFans. I'm not selling feet pics.
Yeah.
I'm not starting an MLM, joining an MLM. I feel like that's what I saw a lot happen during that time. It was really weird. Or you started a business.
It honestly, MLMs are very prominent in Perth, let's say.
Oh, yes.
But we just said, what can we do? Well, let's create a product. And we didn't really have any idea what we were doing. We sampled for months, tried, tested, and finally launched it. And we documented the whole journey on TikTok. And then thankfully, honestly, out of luck, not really strategy, we had a few viral videos and just kept selling out. So we were very lucky.
What were you selling?
We were selling lashes, which we got manufactured. And then I made my own homemade lip glosses and lip scrubs. And then we ended up manufacturing lipsticks, liquid lipsticks.
So a lot of DIY at-home beauty, essentially.
Yeah. So the lashes were predominantly targeted towards artists, so they could, for people like content creators and that kind of thing, that style. Lipsticks, obviously, for anyone. And then the DIY stuff was just our lip glosses, because I love lip balm. I can't live without it.
Anyone who's listening to this episode, Indy looks at me before we start recording. She's like, I think you need some lip balm. And I'm like, do I have to? Yes.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. But I
Makeup
know.
artists never left you.
I just have dry lips all the time. So I'm a lip balm addict. But
am I okay right now?
Yeah, actually, it looks good. I'm about to reapply myself.
Okay.
But no, I'm joking. So I made my own hybrid between a lip balm and a lip gloss because I couldn't find lip glosses were always too sticky and lip balms I felt like didn't look nice enough. So that's when I started like delving into it. It was like a at home, I don't even know what you'd call it, a little lab that I had going on. And I researched all these products and created these hybrid lipsticks / glosses and they sold really well.
Yes, vitamin E and all those beautiful things that they had.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So when you kiss Heraldo, does it show up on his lips? Because Nick will not let me kiss him if I put anything on my lips. He's like, stay away.
Well, I mean, yes, but there's no color to it. But he was like, oh, I'm so hydrated.
I never said that. But I was very hydrated.
I could tell you didn't need lip balm. I looked at you and went, he is not dry.
So then the trick was every single time I needed to put lipstick on, I would just give her a kiss and that's it.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
She's always prepped.
A lip balm, yeah.
Mm.
So at what point did you realize that you wanted to transition out of doing hair and makeup, not be doing the e-commerce anymore, and then start building out the back-end systems and processes for businesses in the bridal and wedding industry?
So e-com was pretty simple for us. As soon as, the industry opened up again, I was like, I actually just hate being a warehouse packer. Like, this isn't what I'm passionate about whatsoever. It did the job. I was very grateful. It was fun. But that was an easy shutdown. And then for weddings, to stop doing weddings, I really don't think that was ever my end game. My why into makeup was just not the usual why. I just had no idea what to do. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll pick this and I'll go with it. And I'm one of those people that I'm always trying to better myself. And if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best at it for me. So I really tried hard to be the best at makeup. But I felt like no matter how hard I tried, I just didn't ever love it that much. And what I did love was working on my client experience and booking in weddings. And I was like, I love all this, back-end admin that no wedding vendor loves. I was like, there's something wrong with me, but this is the part I love. And it would get to the wedding day. I was like, don't really want to be here. And then as things got really busy, I hired a team member who unfortunately pulled out 2 weeks before my busiest month ever. I did 24 weddings on my own. I didn't see Heraldo. I was just exhausted. And the one thing that I didn't have to do was my admin. And I was thinking, thank goodness I have this, because I couldn't have had the business that I had if I didn't. And as a wedding vendor, you work alongside so many other vendors. And always I just kept hearing them complaining about their admin. Oh, I'm so far behind. And one vendor called me on the wedding morning and was like, hey, what's the address? I forgot to ask.
Twice.
Yeah, that happened twice, the same person.
Same person, twice.
But yeah, I saw so many nightmare things happen with vendors not having the right systems in place. And I was like, this needs to change. And I saw the gap and I thought I would absolutely love to fill that because that's what I'm passionate about.
So speaking about that gap, what are the most common challenges and struggles that you see business owners facing before they start working with you? And as you go through these, can you please also explain why it's a problem for both the business owner and how it can also impact the client experience? Because some people might not even realize that some of these things that they're doing actually have a greater impact. So, for example, not being able to respond to inquiries in time, like what is the impact of that?
I think their biggest struggle is time. Well and truly, the clients we work with, they don't have enough time in their day. And because they don't have enough time, they're missing crucial steps within a client experience because they simply don't have the time, or they forget. When you're managing a lot of weddings and then the new inquiries, it's a lot of work. And if you don't have systems in place, then you're going to be missing, it could be, even if you're a makeup artist or a hairstylist, a trial reminder. Some people wait for their brides to reach out to them and say, oh, what's happening with my trial? You want to make sure as a wedding vendor, you are providing the support. People aren't getting married often, as you mentioned before, but as a vendor, you've done this so many times. You need to be the supportive path for those clients. And if you're not, that ultimately reflects on you as a business owner.
That is one of the things. The other thing I see is from the business itself. I mean that most people in the wedding industry are creatives.
Yes.
The problem with being creative is that when you have too many things that you have to do, not that you want to do, creativity gets compressed up to the point where in some points implodes and you have no creativity. And guess what? No creativity, no business. So that is something that people should protect because that is the asset within those type of businesses.
Yeah, I don't think Heraldo really fully understood that until he worked with me, who through and through is a creative. And when I am feeling stressed or I've got too much on my plate, that creativity dies. And I'm like, I just can't. I need time alone. I need to have that space. And every wedding vendor is a creative at heart. And if they're bombarded by admin, that creativity dies, and ultimately so does their business, as Heraldo said.
And it's not just that. Is the alarm goes off in the morning and you need to prepare the kids to go to school and then prepare breakfast and all of that. And then the rest to take a nap? No. You can't. You need to be able to send back and forth emails, create some calls. And then when do you take care of yourself? When do you nourish yourself? When do you nourish your business? So ultimately that leads into a business, a creativity that dries and dies. And that is dangerous.
Okay, real talk. If you're a beauty business owner and you're still doing everything yourself, from posting on socials to replying to DMs on the toilet, creating reels at 11 p.m. in bed, trying to keep your books full, lead a team, and somehow still show up as a decent partner, friend, or parent, this is for you. I created Booked, Banked, and In Demand because I was that burnt out business owner once. Always working in the business, never having enough time to actually work on it. I've now taught the strategies inside this training to over 300 salon owners who have gone on to triple their revenue, become the go-to name in the area, and finally get off the income roller coaster, burnout, and chasing clients. It's also the system I used to build a multi-six-figure coaching business and scale a 7-figure bowling alley in 7 months. Because once you know how to attract clients, convert leads, and create consistent cash flow in your business, it works anywhere. Inside Booked, Banked, and In Demand, you'll learn how to attract dream clients on autopilot with the content that consistently fills your calendar, lock in 90% plus rebooking rates so your income isn't riding a roller coaster every single week, and delegate the back end to a VA so you can step out of burnout mode, reclaim your time, and focus on doing more of what you actually enjoy, whether that's growing your business or taking a damn holiday that you know you deserve. So if you're tired of doing it all and ready to get more clients, make more money, and finally have more time freedom again, this is your sign. Click the link in the show notes and let Booked, Banked, and In Demand be the last training you'll ever need. I definitely find it quite interesting because most people in the beauty industry, they may have worked for someone else or they just take a course, they get their certification, they're like, I'm going to start a business. Now, in the early stages, you have all the time on your hands because you're working your ass off to just try get clients and make any dollar you can. But when you actually get to the point of being booked, fully booked, it's not about running a business is a separate skill is what I'm trying to say. And so all of a sudden it is the marketing, it is the admin, it is the systems, it is team management. It's anything but the creative aspect, like you're saying. And exactly. I think so many people don't realize that until they're this far in, and it's like some of them aren't built for business. And the difference is knowing, okay, well, if I don't enjoy the creative stuff and I don't want to do all the business stuff, who am I getting to help me do that? Or what am I changing so that I can spend more time focusing on the stuff I like doing, whether that's being creative, whether that's providing the service, or maybe that's training up other team members. And I think it's impossible to be good at everything. And I think that's really unfair pressure. It's important to understand all the aspects of your business. And I think when we look at these businesses, why do you think it is that they don't get help sooner?
Ultimately, I think it's because they don't know how. There's, I think, 2 factors that go into this. When I first decided I was going to do this business, I initially thought admin management. So I reached out to about 20 different people and I say, hey, I have this idea, this concept. If someone came in and could manage your admin, would that help? And every single one said, oh, it's a great idea, but when, they say but, something else is coming and it's not really that good of an idea. And they basically said, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving up control. So I was like, okay, control's the issue here. So what if there was a system that you have full control over that could do all of that, but you still can overview it if you wish. And that felt more comfortable for them. So there's ultimately that aspect. And because they just don't know, a lot of the people that come to us are like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that this existed. I wish this existed 10 years ago. And as soon as they know it's a thing, they're all in.
Also, I see lots of business owners, when they just start, they don't have anyone around them that they can ask things. So because of that, they don't know what the next step looks like. That's why I truly believe that business coaching is one of the single most important things they need to get done.
I agree.
Because then they have a roadmap. They know, I need to do this. And the next step looks like that. And the next one like that. And then a scale. And then, so yes, you were saying it really well. you expect to get busy, but when you get busy, then what? And they don't know the next steps.
So when we're looking at these business owners, they're probably not even aware that there's gaps. I think a lot of the time they think they just need to rock up, do the work, get the booking, and then move through the next thing. And so what are some of the most important touch points that your system that you have can actually provide to both the business owner and the customer experience? Because I think in my experience, I always heard people talking about you need systems and processes. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Because I get system step by step, but then I didn't really understand. And so, what does that system consist of? Is it client onboarding? Is it processing payments? Like, run me through it.
Literally everything. So, but from the time a client inquires, even to the point of their inquiry form is part of the system. And then weddings in particular, you're handling a client for anywhere between 12 to 18 to 24 months. There's a lot of touch points in that time. So it handles your quoting, your payments, all of your emails. So, 97% of your repetitive emails can be automated. It looks so beautiful, which is so important because I know it's cliche, like you shouldn't say, aesthetics matter, but ultimately they do. I don't believe anyone that says, people don't look at that. They do, because if you're comparing, let's say, a table of numbers when you're price shopping around for your wedding vendor versus something that it looks like a website, it's beautiful, it's interactive, that psychologically is going to make you think that they're a better choice. So it handles all of that, and even to the offboarding and the client retention.
Definitely. I think a lot of people
overlooked.
Take the money. Here's the booking. Okay, that's it. And it's like ghosting. And then that whole post experience. Oh, can you write me a review maybe? And then that's it. And when I look at my client experience in the early days, I didn't know what a good client experience consisted of. And it wasn't until I started looking at where are my favorite restaurants? What are the favorite coaching programs I've signed up to? Like, what have been my favorite experiences in businesses? And it's not about a service, it's about an experience, right?
Absolutely. And most wedding vendors are so talented, but the behind the scenes sucks. And that's because they don't know, which is why we not only implement a system for them, but we help them with that strategy behind, because it's like, cool, what are you doing now? Let's expand on this because this could be so much better. And most people don't have a phenomenal client experience because they think, that's so much work. But what if you don't have to do the work?
Because it is a lot of work. I mean, most of the clients that you get to be in touch with are people who already observe you from the outside. So they see your website, they see your Instagram. When they inquire with you, then they get to know what systems you're having, what systems you have implemented.
Just the experience you provide.
And if that sucks, that will create immediately a disparity between how you look and how your value really is. And that disparity creates that incongruence and then ultimately pushes people away.
Well, people don't want to wait, right? So
Exactly.
Let's say I inquire and it takes that person who's super burnt out, has all these bookings, and they don't have time for the admin, maybe 2 weeks to get back to me. I'm sorry, I don't want to book you for my wedding, because if it's going to take you 2 weeks to get back to me, how can I rely on you to show up on time for my wedding?
Exactly.
And so that automation, being able to get an instant response, you can automate that even in the lead up to the wedding. Like, is there a pre-wedding checklist? Is there a little thing I can send out to all my bridal party that we prep ourselves with, so that not only does it make them feel more valued and excited, but also you get to have an easier day because they're prepped. It's not like they're coming up with like 5 days of gym hair and sweat and dandruff and like, do I get a blow dry with this as well? Like,
yeah,
no.
Exactly. Oh, you see some things at weddings, and it does help. We had a whole bunch of guides, and even in the system that we use, the brides get their own online portal. So they get basically, their login, and they can jump in and see any digital resource you've created for them. So when I was a makeup artist, I used to have heaps in there. The brides, I'd be like, hey, it's time to read this, or send this one to your bridal party, and it makes them feel so supported, and it's just no extra work for you. And as you said, you get there on the day and no one's like half asleep being like, who's going next?
Once again, you as a vendor in the wedding industry, you probably within 2-3 years, you've done hundreds of weddings. And for them is hopefully the first and only wedding of their life. And it's very important for them, and they put a lot of emotional charge to it. But if you have done it many times, you have the ability to view things and overview things that they haven't been able to see yet. So if you are a vendor that can probably guide them, give them different angles, give them different tips and tricks, you're going to be able to provide an excellent client experience just by anticipating your client's needs before they arise.
I think that's a really powerful point you make there, because you guys know me. I've done 10 weddings, right? I've been a bride 10 times for modeling. I haven't actually been married 10 times. And
hey, what's going on here?
Bless, Nick's filming right now and he's like looking over. When I actually, from a model perspective, look at the vendors I've worked with, there's been some that have really stood out and some that have been terrible. There's been shoots where you've got 5 to 6 vendors giving up their entire day, their resources, their team. And if the preparation and planning beforehand has not been done, it is a waste of everyone's time. And it's really unfortunate that that does happen. And I think, that's a collaboration. Like, that's a free thing. Imagine what it's like, the pressure, not just of the bride and the groom, but parents, everything. Like, you need to be prepared and have a plan. And so having a system in place is about automating the things that are really repetitive so that you're not burnt out. And like Heraldo was saying before, you have that creative energy to be able to focus on making it an incredible day for them. So when you've got these burnt out vendors, they're not giving their 100% to their client experience. So that starts to lack, right? They don't show up the best they could. They don't do the best job. Maybe their mood's a bit off because they're super stressed. What are some things that they can do right now, even before getting the system, that could just free up time in their week that they feel like they don't have?
Book a call with us. No. Shameless plug. No. For us, I would say the first thing, if you have personal social media, get rid of it. You and I have spoken about this recently. Yeah. We deleted our personal Instagrams, and the amount, you don't realize how much time you're wasting.
Yeah,
and then,
doom scroll.
Yeah, honestly. And most people that say, I don't have enough time, well, if you've got a personal Instagram, chances are you actually unknowingly are wasting time. But I think the biggest thing that they could do to just relieve some of that pressure is, it's tough because I just don't see it. I don't see how it can happen without a system.
The thing is it varies, because if you're a mom, you have 2 kids. On top of that, you need to take care of the household. You need to take care of the drop off. And
it's a lot of pressure.
You have a lot of pressure. And honestly, people in the wedding industry, I've seen them myself. They put their heart on what they do.
Absolutely.
They need to clean let's say makeup artists, because that's what we used to do. Indy mentioned earlier that when she did those 24 weddings in a month, we didn't see each other. Yes, I would feel a body sliding into the bed, and then 2 hours later I need to get out. So she was taking the brushes, preparing for the wedding. Okay, what type of shadows I need? This one. Okay, then driving, then getting there, putting your best energy. You're sick, you're tired, doesn't matter. You put your best energy because that is a bride, that is a wedding, that's someone else's most important day of their life up to that point. And then you come back, traffic, you need to wash the brushes, prepare for the next day. And then when do you even have time for admin? We don't have kids. I cannot imagine how people do it with kids.
I don't know either.
So honestly, it varies, because they have so much that they have to do that they don't have the time for the things that they want to do.
It's quite interesting that you say that, because in my mind, if I was looking at a business, depending on what they are, it's like, do you hire help or do you invest in the system? And in this particular circumstance, a lot of the work is repetitive, so it's better off having as a system so it's more streamlined. If you hired a VA and you got them to take over all the admin, you probably would actually double up on the amount of work you have to do, because you'd be cross-checking everything. So I think that's a really interesting perspective to look at, because a lot of people, if they are looking at getting the help, like, do I hire admin or do I get a system? In this circumstance, a system is going to serve them better.
Yeah, 100%. In the wedding industry, I believe a system is way better because it's a lot more affordable also, and it's more efficient. We always say, why would you get a human to do what a system can do faster, cheaper, and more effectively?
And 24/7.
And they don't have sick days.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. So what's the most impactful tip or strategy that's consistently achieved really impressive results for your clients?
I think it comes down to the framework and how we do things. So we built this system and this business on everything around strategy, systems, support, and soul. They are our 4 key factors we bring into every single build. And I think if you take one away, we wouldn't get the results that we get our clients. But the strategy is the biggest part, because if you build a system without that, it's just a system.
Now, in terms of what strategy in particular, well, that changes all the time.
Yeah.
We are no system printers. I'm not going to build the same thing for you and for you and for you. No, we take all the time in the world to be able to understand your vision, where you are right now, where you want to be, and how we build the strategy with the system that can take you to the point that you want to get. So everyone is different. Some people are flat out and they need to filtrate more inquiries and they need to take care of more clients. Some people are in the growth stage, so they need to bring more people in and handle more people. So the strategy is going to vary. Some people are super busy and the sales process will look in a certain way. Some people are not that busy and the sales process needs to look a lot stronger. So, and then the client experience is different. The offboarding is different. Some people don't care about the offboarding because they're super busy. Some people really need the offboarding and client retention to be able to have more people within the system. So every single strategy is completely different and we tailored to your business in particular to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's for sure. What we see gets the most results. It is the system, yes, but it's what we build behind it to actually make it work for a specific business.
So for someone listening to this and you have no idea what some of these words are meaning, something that I would be looking at, and you guys can definitely add in here, would be having a onboarding process. So from obviously you need to have your landing page, which has all the information about what services you offer, how to inquire and all of that stuff. But as soon as they hit submit, you don't want it to sit in your inbox. And so having that onboarding process or like that nurture sequence of emails that come through, hey, we've just received your inquiry. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can within the next 48 hours. And then maybe it's like a what to prepare for your wedding guide or something like that, or like how to choose your perfect makeup for the day. So it's like you're giving value. When I look at coaching or consulting or any of those things, they are always giving more value in the lead up before they even make the sale. And I think if you're giving, more people are going to want to book with you. I mean, these are brides, right? They're going to maybe 5, 10 other people that you may not even know about. Maybe you're their dream one and they've picked you, but they might be price hunting. They might be looking at different styles. There might be like 3 people that are super similar and they just can't make the decision. And so it really comes down to all these touch points after that make them choose you. And so onboarding is about how are you bringing them into your world? How are you getting them to say yes? How are you nurturing them as a client? You're not just taking their money and then, okay, I'll show up on this day. In the very lead up to the wedding days, like are there some cool little tips or things that they could be doing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we mentioned before, the guides definitely are a big one. Just really staying in touch, because we see so often that you say, oh, your wedding's confirmed, and then you don't hear from them. Staying in touch is crucial, even a couple of months out, just checking in and being like, hey, how are you going? How's the wedding planning going? Or, hey, I know in the lead up, you'll be thinking about your skin 6 months out. Here are my recommended skin therapists in the area. Just providing little tips that the brides are thinking, oh, this isn't actually, let's say I'm not paying the makeup artist for this, but wow, I need to get that done. And now I've already trusted this person to do my makeup and now I can trust who they trust. Things like that I think are really crucial as well.
We have clients that put that into their own strengths. We recently worked with the makeup artist who also is a nutritionist. So she builds up a whole 6-month plan for your skin to be absolutely glowing for your wedding day. How great is that?
So unique.
That's cool. That's a niche within a niche.
So what you need to be able to do is to be able to be creative in the value that you can give them. The more value you give them, they're going to rave. They are going to ask you for the link for the testimonial. And that's what we want to achieve, being able to nourish them along the way so they're super happy with you.
So it's really not about, oh my gosh, there's so much effort to set this up, because people will listen to this and they go, oh, I don't have time for that.
Well, that's the point.
Most of the time, people say they don't have the time, yet they spend so much time writing all these emails and getting back to these things. And so it's actually just getting really clear on, like, if I create a high value resource once, then I can send that out, automate that over and over again. And I think this is why a lot of people are moving into the digital space, especially in the beauty industry, because they're realizing if I can create a really valuable resource, I don't have to re-deliver it every single time. I don't have to show up and type it. Like once it's done, it's done. And so something that I have found throughout my journey in coaching and consulting and doing all these things is the first year or two are super slow because you're just building everything up. But like by year 3 to 5, you got everything you could possibly need. Someone has a problem, boom, you've got it. And so it's not about having to create all these different things all at once. I would actually be looking at what are the most common problems that come up and then just create a resource for that as a solution. And so every time someone complains about something or they're not sure or they want to ask a question, boom, I've got a guide for that. And so that's a really good starting point to make A, your life easier, B, their life better, and C, everyone's day.
Yeah.
An amazing experience.
That's a point really important. And every single one of us have just 24 hours to get everything done. So if you don't find soon enough the opportunity for you to leverage that time with systems or with a team, you're going to be the person end up doing everything yourself. And then with what time? So that's why automations come in handy. So, and if you don't know where to start, you can literally Google, hey, the most frequent questions about wedding days and things that the brides need or things that the brides don't know. And then you can gather so many questions that you can fulfill with your own experience.
Love that. Actually, is it We the People, Ask the People? Something like that.
Yes.
That's a really good website that you can sit on and just type in what your industry is and then it'll come up with the most common search questions and then create the resources. Exactly what you're saying. Or if you search something into Google, like a common question, when it has all those little drop downs, those are the other commonly searched ones. So if you're looking for some resources, that's a really good tip. Now, coming back to the whole Dubsado thing, for some people that have no idea what Dubsado is or what it means, can you just like break it down really simply?
Right.
Heraldo's the person for this. I complicate everything.
Okay, really simple. It's an extension of yourself because we write all emails based on your tone of voice, all the touch points that you want to add, and on top of that, the ones that we want to add to make sure you can achieve your target and your goal. So it's an extension of yourself that is there working 24/7, doesn't get sick, is a cheaper you, and does all the heavy lifting in repetitive tasks that you don't need to do because that is doing it itself on its own. So that is what it is. It's an extension of yourself. It's never going to sound like a robot because we write it.
So it's like a professional booking system, admin queen for you.
It's a CRM system, which
CRM.
is a client relationship
CRM?
management.
Yeah, they need to know what's CRM. They're like, is that a rap battle? What?
No, customer or client relationship management system. So think about any time from the person inquires until you finish your journey with them, this system handles every single part of the repetitive admin for you. And like think of everything included, sending payment reminders, sending your quote, sending
when to invite them
follow-ups,
for trials.
Sending, a booking scheduler. As everyone in the beauty industry knows what a booking scheduler is, such as Timely, Acuity, Fresher. It has its own inbuilt booking scheduler as well. So there's that aspect for one-on-one events versus, your client journey nurturing.
I think that's something that everyone needs to get their hands on and, whether they choose to book a call with you or whether they choose to struggle for the next 6 to 12 months, that's up to them. But regardless what you were creating when you started this, no one else is doing it, and it's become quite popular. You've worked with how many vendors now?
Over 130 in just over a year. We launched at the end of April 2024.
That's incredible. And I know that you guys have been looking into scaling with like Facebook ads, and one of your biggest problems is that no one else is really doing what you're doing. However, we have come across one copycat, and if anyone is listening to this, I'm sure that you've all experienced this kind of thing. Like, it sucks in the industry. Why do you think people have a tendency to copy each other in the beauty industry?
I think it comes down to looking at what other people are doing rather than staying in your own lane and thinking, we've heard it before. Oh, so you were such a quick success. I'm like, you did not see the 6 months that I worked 7 days a week building this out and the years before that I had to have the experience. It comes down to comparison. And as you said, it's so frustrating because ultimately I don't really care in the sense of I'm in my own lane. I'm not looking at what other people are doing. And if people are copying you, they're always going to be one step behind you because they're looking at what you're doing and you've already created it and moved on to the next thing. I don't know why it's so common in this industry. I think it comes down to a fear of not being good enough. And because of that, they're looking at people who they value as good enough.
It's quite interesting because when you look at copycats, you're going to get caught up in the heat of the moment and you're like, are you fucking serious? I have poured my heart and soul into this. You've just gone and copied and pasted my terms and conditions, or you've copied all of my descriptions of my services or my exact packages and prices. I remember I had like a couple clients. There was this one other business that copied the name of their services and then their packages and descriptions. Like there's just actually I've thought of that for 3 people as I'm saying that out loud. Like there's so many people copying. And I think when you are at the forefront of the industry and you're leading, how do you continue to be innovative?
I think it's very interesting because going back to copycats and how to be completely unique within what you do goes hand in hand, because copycats can always copy what you're doing, but they cannot copy the idea behind of why you're doing it. And because of that, they're all the time comparing themselves with others. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having inspiration from others. I think that is the easiest way to propel yourself forward when you don't have any guidance. Instead of going blind, yes, find a coach, find someone who can guide you through inspiration, right? But the problem with that is those people, because they're all the time looking with the scope of analyzing what everyone else is doing, they lose their own voice, their own why, their own motivation. So we have learned across the 3 businesses that we've had that if you are unique, you speak the way you speak, you talk to the client that you want to talk, and you are very clear with who you are, building a unique business is very simple.
As a service provider, you are the point of difference.
Exactly.
Who you are is people can't replicate that.
I think it's so true. When I talk to people about bowling, when we were originally coming up with the concept of an idea for bowling, there was, your typical ones like Perth. It kind of looks like a laser tag, that kind of Tron vibe. And then there's those weird circus Archie and Sons. I don't like those ones. And then there's your typical old school diner. They've all been done. And then we came in with a Wild West bowling theme, and it was so unique, so different that no one else could compare. And we've had the fortunate opportunity that bowling alleys aren't that easy to set up, and we haven't got all these other Wild West bowling alleys, but we got caught in a position where we weren't sure what to do. And it was really easy to look at what everyone else was doing. But because we did something so left of field, it's become memorable. And I think so many people don't give themselves the time or space to think about a new creative idea, and they just solely rely on what's already out there and then how can I do that? And I guess when we look at copycats, it can be very frustrating, very annoying, and just like, but the positive that comes from it is innovation. And so the copycats actually help the industry leaders continue innovating. And I think that that's when you really see the brands at the forefront shining through, because it doesn't matter how many times they get copied. They've always got this next level because they have a plan, they have a vision, they have a voice, they have a mission. And so when we're looking at these business owners who are down in the dumps because they're looking on social media, they're comparing themselves to everyone else. They're like, oh, she has the nice salon fit out, or, oh, wow, she has this, she has that. We get so caught up in what everyone else has that we forget what we have. And I think, kind of completely going off topic here, but when I was in Vietnam, you see how little people have and they're so much happier.
Yeah.
And obviously, don't get me wrong, they don't have access to the things we have here. They don't have a, healthcare system like we do. They don't have the type of income and opportunities, but they have gratitude and they have that connection and all of those things. And I think it's so easy as a business owner to get caught up in the comparison trap and copycats comparison. It comes from that comparison. I want to aspire to be like this other person, or I want what they have because I don't have it. And I think deep down, we all feel that pressure in some kind of way. Even me as a coach, I'm going, oh my gosh, I have to be at 50 to 80K months because everyone else in this program is, or, my competitor's doing these speaking gigs, so then I have to be doing that. Have you guys felt that pressure in terms of how you've set up your business, how much money you have to be making, or any of that side of things?
In this particular business, I have to say not so much, but in the other previous ones, absolutely. And I think the reason that we don't compare, or personally, I'm not in a comparison state with what I do now, is because my why I started this is so strong, and the love for it is so strong that I don't actually, care. The lifestyle and everything that it brings us is a plus, but I'm not driven by that. I'm driven because I genuinely love doing it. But as a makeup artist, absolutely, I was 100% comparing myself to people all the time, particularly because I felt like I was working so much and wasn't as successful as some other people that I'd seen. I'd be like, what am I doing wrong? You know, I feel like I'm putting everything that I have into this and I'm just not growing at the level that these people seem to be. But ultimately, you don't know what that person's doing behind the scenes. You actually have no idea what their circumstances are. And I think when I had that realization that I always, myself and some friends, we always talk about Sally down the road. And we say, Sally down the road might have a rich husband and they're doing this. Like, you don't know, they might be fully funded by their rich husband. And that concept really helped me shift out of, you just never know what everyone else is doing.
Also, coming back to your why, because Indy and I came from a place where I was working in sales. She was super busy in makeup. We didn't see each other and we were drifting apart. And what is the most important thing for us? Ourselves, our lifestyle, no money. I come from a third world country where I used to make a lot of money back then. Well, I was making $2,000 a month. That's a lot of money over there. So for me, money is not a driving factor because being in a country like this, by having a roof, having a fridge, having food, that makes me feel rich already. So what is important for me? I have the chance to be working with my wife every single day. I can train with her. I can see her grow. I can be with my puppies on the beach. I can go to the gym, take care of myself. This is the driving factor for us that make us create a product. When we have a client in front of us, my single most important thing is for them to achieve success. So we're not trying to copy anybody. Our why is for them to be successful. And then we help each other along the way. We don't want to be rich as. This is not our money is not our driving factor. It's the lifestyle and how we can improve our services every single day.
But I think in the context of comparison is we don't compare our services to others, but it's so easy online these days. You're flooded with, you should do this or you should do that. And I know you and I, Sammy, have spoken about this before. When you just see all these different content ideas, let's say marketers saying, do this, do that. And then you get stuck and you're like, what do I actually need to do? That's the spiral that I can get myself in quite frequently and was a big reason why I deleted my personal social media, because I was like, I can't. You just get so bombarded with information that you almost get paralyzed.
Yeah, 100%. I think out of all of this conversation, one thing that really starts to become clear for me is, when did we let someone else choose our definition of success? And I think when you don't get really clear on what you want out of life, and I'm saying life because you create the business to support your lifestyle, not the lifestyle that, you know, okay, your business revolves, like it becomes a shit show, right? Like when I think about the times where I've gotten really down in the dumps, like imposter syndrome, comparison, you know, doom scrolling and feeling like it's the end of the world, as I'm sure many people can get caught in. What I didn't realize was that I was comparing my life to someone else's version of success that didn't even align with my values.
Yeah.
And so I used to think success was having a European car, having designer handbags, all the beauty services, you know, making all this money, all the external validation. You put a post up on social media, and that's because I came from modeling, I came from pageantry, I came from the influencer world. And having been in the watch industry around a lot of millionaires and billionaires, they're very empty on the inside. And I think that all of these material things or status or achievements, they think that that is what's going to bring them fulfillment. But when you actually talk to a lot of these people, they're chasing something that they can't feel, and that's self-worth. And so it doesn't matter how many more things you buy, how many more achievements you make. You know, if you don't feel that self-worth and that love and that appreciation, that gratitude, doesn't matter what you do in your business, doesn't matter how much more you get, like it'll never be enough. And so if someone's feeling that way, I think if you're feeling that way and you're listening to this right now, my piece of advice is like get really clear on what your values are. And this isn't just for you as a person, it's for you as a brand too, because that is what's going to guide you in who you work with, how you set up your business, how you run your services or your products, or like what creates the vision. So if the values for you are fulfillment, happiness, love, Like, why are you going out partying and posting up all these fancy dinners at Nobu and stuff with people you don't even like? I think there's finding that alignment. What do you guys think?
I have some things to say about this. Firstly, Heraldo and I both come from quite humble beginnings. So we didn't grow up with any luxuries. And I think because of that, we've always been so grateful for every little thing that we've had. On the flip side, there was a time when Heraldo was in sales and I was in makeup. We were making quite a decent amount of money, but we couldn't even spend it because we never had time. And at that point, we said, why are we doing this? We have this money, but we don't even get to enjoy it. And I don't care how much money I have, I don't get to see my husband. And we're that bizarre couple that the more time we spend together, the closer we are. And if we're apart, then we start to feel distant. And that wasn't worth it for me. I said, I don't want this lifestyle. I don't want money if this is the cost. And I think, as you said, you don't need to compare to what other people find fulfilling. And that can be really hard when you feel yourselves in circles where, I know heavily in mastermind circles, when everyone's saying, I made 80K, 90K, 100K this month, you can very easily believe that that's what you have to do as well.
Oh, yeah. I felt that pressure. I remember I was making maybe like 15, 20K and I was thinking I had to be making 50 or 80. And then I'm looking at these people. They spend no time with their family. They have no social life. They're incredibly burnt out. And I'm like, I'm going on a holiday. And, I almost feel guilty because I was like, I've achieved this life. And I think at the core of it, you have to know what you want. I think not enough people know who they are and they don't take that space or time because they're so busy keeping up with everyone else. And so when it comes to that creative burnout or that I don't know what I want anymore, sometimes the best thing to do is spend a day away or a week away. Like, if you have the luxury to be able to actually spend a few days of like no social media, no clients, and actually sit with yourself, that's really helped me in the last couple of months. Having that space, Nick and I have a lot of conversations about what we want out of life and, are we happy and what are we working towards? And I think sometimes it can feel like pressure of like, I have to be working towards something, I have to do something. And sometimes it's like, I don't know what I want. But then other times I'm like, I know exactly what I don't want. And that helps me figure out what I want because the whole comparison thing, I find it really interesting. I think more people should be aware that the comparison comes from not having clear goals, a clear vision, your own values. And I noticed something that you guys started doing recently was having your Monday mornings. Like tell everyone about what your Monday mornings look like now versus what they used to look like.
Oh, Mondays are our heaviest day of the week. We are smashed. And we always used to do our heaviest gym session on a Monday. That was dumb.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah. And I was so stressed and so frantic. And we said, this isn't worth it anymore. So we now go and do our heaviest gym session on a Sunday. So Monday's a little bit lighter. And we go to the beach or have a coffee and take it it's not really slower, but it feels less heavy.
Once again, you need to be able to give space for you to be creative. Otherwise, you compress it. So you need to be very aware of who you are, your strengths, and your weak points as well to be able to organize a schedule that works for you and not against you. Because most people just put things in the schedule, in the calendar, and then they just wing it. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to provide the best of what we can every single time. And because of that, we modulate our schedule to be able to perform at the best of what we can along the journey. So it's been very interesting to be able to do that.
So what I do to finish up my episodes is a rapid fire round of questions. Now, because there's two of you, I don't know if you guys are going to have the same answers. So I'm thinking I'll ask and then maybe Indy, you go first and then Heraldo. And then for the next question, get Heraldo to go and then Indy. So you're kind of taking it in turns and not just like copycatting each other. Does that sound good?
All right.
I might copycat you, darling.
We are basically morphed into the same person. But
hey guys, if you were like if this was on YouTube, but I can't afford to have my podcast on YouTube because it's already expensive enough for me. So because you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm just letting you know Indy and Heraldo are wearing matching tracksuits.
We do this all the time. We always match. And that's what I mean. I'm not doing this boss babe aesthetic. I am in trackies.
And that's how we are. We've been in a relationship 7 years. The whole 7 years we've been matching as much as we can all the time.
Oh my gosh. Did I get the ick or am I like, I secretly want that?
Yeah.
All right, hit us.
All right, number 1. What's one word your clients would use to describe working with you?
3, 2, 1. Hun. Oh, no.
Use working with us.
Oh.
Han's the word you hate or you like? I'm scared.
Yeah, no, I would say easy, but that's it. I'll leave it at that. Easy.
I think go to the reviews and read it.
He doesn't want to put words in people's mouth.
No,
but most people in the reviews say easy.
Humble.
They always say like chatting with old friends.
Oh, the old married couple.
Mum and dad.
In bed by so
we love that too because we get attached to them. We really build good relationships with them. Yeah.
All right. Number 2, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Same. Hey, he wakes me up with a coffee. I'm not the one that gets up first, but I do get up.
Oh, You're not snorting caffeine. You're drinking it.
Bit of both. No.
Oh my gosh, people that dry scoop pre-workout.
I tried it once. Never do pre-workout again.
No.
That's so funny. All right, number 3, coffee order.
Vanilla latte.
Same.
Ooh.
Like sugar nut coffee. No, but a bit both.
What about the strawberry matcha you got me the other day? That was interesting.
It was. Strawberry matchas are like an every now and then thing.
Oh, yeah, they're not a regular. Expensive. That was like $19 for 2 strawberry matchas.
Yeah, no, not again. Not anytime soon.
Okay. Number 4, what's your go-to productivity hack?
Delete your personal Instagram.
Yes, same.
Or put your phone on Do Not Disturb.
Ooh, you know what one? I've been loving the personal mode.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's like it stops the work stuff from coming through. But if you have someone like, let's say, Nick, my incredible boyfriend here, he can get through to me.
Love that.
While I ignore everyone else. I think there's only like 4 people that I respond to really fast, apart from my one-on-one clients, and then everyone else 2 to 3 business days.
Yeah.
Just got this imaginary hierarchy in my head, and I'm like, all right, I'll get back to that later. Yeah. All right, number 5. What's your favorite part of running your business together, Heraldo?
Oh, I just love everything about it. I love the fact that we have freedom together, that we can enjoy all the good and bad things together. We can go through the bad things and we can enjoy the good things. I don't know. I just love growing older with Indy. It's been fantastic.
That's so wholesome.
What a cutie.
Indy told me that you guys almost have a DV every time you go to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Just because we think and we are very different. That's all.
Very different people. But yeah, look, the podcast together is the only thing I dislike. Everything else I love. In our day-to-day client work, love working together.
Yeah.
That's really wholesome. I'm grateful that I have you guys as friends, and also like to see you guys working in a business together and being really understanding and going through that journey. I think that's a really powerful thing. And a lot of people, they either cut their partner out and you're like, you're not going to understand it. It's too hard. But to bring each other on board and be part of that journey, and also bring the love and also the care factor to your clients, amazing. Number 6, what's your most underrated Dubsado feature?
Coding. Most people don't use Dubsado to the potential because they don't know how to code. And I've done a lot of learning on learning coding, and the features that you can use on your like proposal, questionnaires, it just is phenomenal. It's so diverse.
It's a hidden gem. Honestly, I've seen most Dubsado builders forms and they look up to 30%, but no one is really pushing the throttle in to develop what we're developing.
Well, that's why you're number 1 in the world. I'm just imagining Indy in her spare time playing like Call of Duty or something.
Yuck, no. I mean, no offense to anybody that does that, but I'm not a gamer whatsoever.
Every time I think of coding, I'm like the IT nerd from school.
It's like the Matrix, all those different codes and things. It just...
bless. Okay, number 7. What's the most overused buzzword in the wedding or beauty industry?
This is what you wanted to say.
3, 2, 1.
Hun.
I hate when people use the word hun. It feels like some 50-year-old woman is telling me like that she hates me without telling me she hates me.
It's not necessary.
It's condescending. Nick said that, and I can 100% agree with that.
He didn't say hun. He said the condescending part.
Oh, he said condescending. Yeah.
Oh, bless. Look, I think that there's a time and a place to use nice words with people like lovely and beautiful and all that stuff. But I think if you're saying babe and hun to your actual clients, it's not professional. And that's where people find themselves in this trap between they're respecting me as a service provider or a business versus they're seeing me as their best friend, and they kind of pull that boundary.
The lines are blurred.
Yeah. So like completely out of it. Like, look, I understand some people might have just grown up with that and that's just natural for them.
And maybe their ideal client is also speaks like that, and that's okay.
But I think, for most people who are sitting within their, 20s to like 35, that's not really.
It's not necessary.
Nah.
Scrap it.
But then on the other side, like I said as a joke, queen, or like, yes, queen, like as a joke. I more say that to Andre though, because we're in that Gen Z generation. But yeah, I feel like you just got to be professional in the way you communicate to clients regardless, because you want to be seen as that service provider who is respected, not the best friend. It's like friend zone. Everyone thinks it's about dating, but no, it's actually a real thing for business owners. If you get friend zone, oh my gosh, trying to enforce policies, anything like that, you're gone.
No, don't do it. Don't just ditch
it.
You do friend zone.
I go into cold mode and I just reinforce them. I don't care.
Yeah, he's from the military. You're a different kind of breed, Heraldo. When it's women, it's feelings and emotions. It's a bit harder.
That's why we work well, because we're very different.
Good cop, bad cop.
Okay, number 8. What is the worst piece of business advice you've ever received?
Go, darling.
When I wanted to leave my corporate job and I was telling my dad, he said, you should never work in the beauty industry. You will never make any money. Glad I didn't listen to him. I mean, if people don't price profitably. I made money in the industry. It's just a terrible piece of advice. Anyone that, for a parent to say don't ever do that, I don't think it's great.
I think the worst piece of advice that I've ever got was from somebody who wasn't where I want to go. Period.
So do you think with your whole journey now, do you reckon you would have stayed in the beauty industry long term if you had to, or what, like if you didn't make that shift? Or do you reckon if you didn't find like the Dubsado side of things, like what would have you moved into instead of this?
I think I would have gone into some element of I never wanted to do coaching, but I thought that was the path that I was going to go. I knew I wanted to do something more business related. Yeah, it would have. I don't know what it would have been if it wasn't Dubsado. It would have been admin management. It would have been helping them just in a different way.
I love that. Okay, number 9. What's one beauty service you could never live without?
I'm terrible because I don't pay for any beauty services. I'm a DIY queen. But my eyebrow waxing.
What about you, Heraldo?
Well,
the soap on the
nothing.
face.
So if I could say something related to making myself looking better, I think fitness.
What about a haircut?
Yeah, what about a haircut?
Now I can go with the long hair and I look like a mop because I have curly hair.
He does. He has the moppiest, most curly hair.
I think hairdressers is like the makeup of the guys.
Yeah, Nick, he needs to have his hair done every 2 weeks.
What about the mustache?
Yeah, I do them right.
It's
Every
a
time
sexy
he
one,
like
right?
flies home, I get the scissors out and he's like, gotta get beautified. He won't let me pluck his eyebrows. I feel like men are little bitches when it comes to like any time of like plucking or waxing.
Let me wax his eyebrows when I was learning how to do brows.
And I have plucked every single hair of my face as a there. Before. I don't care.
There's so much hair on your face.
Pain is not a problem. But I think it's a feminine thing to do and I'm straight, so no, I wouldn't do it.
No, but it's not the feminine or masculine. It's like they look so like, they can handle pain, but then as soon as you pull one hair out, they're like crying.
Oh, I'm not like that.
Heraldo's pretty good with pain, but he's very much like, I'm a macho man,
Hey, I'm old and also I was born in a third world country. What do you expect? I'm very old fashioned.
Yeah, he is.
So number 10, if you had to start a business that wasn't in beauty or weddings, what would you do? I've kind of already asked you this, so I'm just going to go straight to Heraldo.
I wanted to build a business around mindset for men where I could train them similar to a military process where I could really get clear and for them to find themselves, because I feel like, especially in this country, I feel like guys are a little bit feminized.
You're really tapping into this.
No. It's just they're quite soft, and because of that, they're really losing their drive. I have not seen driven people really as much as how we are back home with less opportunities.
I'm going to have to say I agree with you on that one, because I have seen a lot of men, I guess, not tap into their full potential of what they could be doing. And I think that maybe it's part of this whole society of like the women retiring their husbands and stuff. It's like changed the whole dynamic, or, what we see on social media, I'll just do this. And I think that like mentally as well, all of us are becoming weaker in Australia.
I do agree.
Schooling system, like, people, I'm going to have a mental health day and then it's become a mental health week and then it's a mental health term and I'm actually just going to drop out of school and they're in like year 8 or year 9, That's the kind of stuff I went through when I was, going through high school, and I started seeing more mental health issues coming through. And I think that maybe we were too soft, you know, maybe the schooling system did change, or maybe the way parents parent. Like, I'm not here for saying abuse is okay, but like, man, if I got smacked because I did something wrong, I never did it again. But like, use your words, and like, I want you to think about it. Like, those kids don't have reasoning, and
there's no respect. You see this generation, and it's just so different.
But in your business journey, every single time you go through tribulation, you go through problems, you grow, right?
100%.
And can you really grow without getting out of your comfort zone?
No, and people aren't getting put out of their comfort zone.
So what would that make you think that if in business is like that, in fitness is not like that? What would that make you think that if in fitness is not like that, in your psychological area is not like that? It's like that in every single area. You need to stress the muscle for the muscle to grow. And it hurts in the beginning. But that is what stimulates growth. It's the same in every single area of your life.
So interesting, because like when I get on this podcast, sometimes I'm like, am I going to get cancelled for saying this? Like, you know.
Do you know what? That's why Heraldo and I argue almost every time, because he's so unfiltered. And I'm like, we're dealing with women who can tend to be a little bit more emotional sometimes. So be softer with your words. And he's like, no.
But then at the same time, I'm like, why am I going to change what I believe in, or what I would genuinely, honestly say to fit other people? And then that's kind of where I think like, well, people would be able to handle that, like, you know, but now they can't, you know, and
it's true.
It's sometimes the truth that people need to hear, but sometimes I can admit I'm wrong. I don't get things right. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said you had ADHD just because you got heaps of energy. Like, but everyone's got ADHD here, so I just make this ongoing joke, you know.
It's about 3 or 5 courses a day.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's the caffeine.
I love you guys.
I don't take any. See, I'm not sensitive at all.
Oh, I know.
Tell it to me. I'm not.
You got food in your teeth. I'm just kidding.
Do you want to eat it?
You almost got offended.
I wasn't offended. It was like,
Toxic.
Oh, shit.
Now, being honest, do you think I'm abrasive the way I am?
I think you are very humble and kind and caring. I think there's definitely that side where you have a lot of empathy. But then I think there's also the other side where if people aren't getting the point, you'll make the point very clear, very abruptly. And I think that that's efficient, you know. I don't think, even for me with coaching, like I don't have time to be like, oh my gosh, what do you think? Or like
fluff around.
Yeah, like I'm here like, this is the problem. What do you think you want to do? Do we want to go down this way or this way? And like, for me, I see it as a sign of efficiency. But some people don't like that style of coaching, and they don't like the way I am, and that's so
They're not
fine.
your people.
It's interesting because we've had a lot of clients, and all of them, I have to handle them in a lot. I don't know how to articulate this.
You have to like change a little bit.
All those clients that we've had, I have a big proportion of the time with them.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any problems with any of them. But I did have friction with the people who never went ahead with us and never became a client.
They were like, oh, he's too pushy, he's too this. I'm like, I actually heard the conversation and he's not at all.
No.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in like beauty though, and just people in general, like they're stressed out, you know, they might be coming to you in a reactive state and they're not the best version of themselves. They're not thinking clearly. And so they're kind of in that victim mentality of like, I'll blame everyone and everything else, and it's never perfect and never good enough. And then that usually comes back to the whole, once again, the self-worth thing. And so if I'm happy, if I'm confident, if I'm comfortable with who I am, if I feel aligned, I'll go yes. If not, then okay, it didn't work out. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. Okay, number 11. What is your secret sauce as a duo?
Play to our own strengths. We're both very different people. And I don't, for example, we're learning something, I say, let's not learn the same thing. You learn something different. We need to play on our own strengths, which are quite different from each other.
What are your different strengths, if you don't mind me asking? Like, are you better at hip thrust and she's better at squats, or?
I hate squatting.
I'm better at squats. She's way better at hip thrust. 165 kilos.
Well,
I cannot do that.
Okay, business.
Yeah. My strengths would be I am more creative, definitely. Heraldo's more logical. So he's really good at dealing with problems because I tend to get a bit
emotionally attached.
I just hate hurting people's feelings. I'm so concerned. I would rather put myself in a horrible, uncomfortable position and break every one of my boundaries to not offend somebody else.
Which she has.
And Heraldo's the one that can step in, and he's a boundary keeper, which is a good role to have. But no, he's very logical. He's very good. You know, he's now learning all the ads because that's all very logical. I'm like, you do that. He's a lot better with handling, primarily he handles 80% of our client work, whereas I'm working on the business.
I love that. Number 12, if you could teleport anywhere in the world tomorrow, where are you going?
I'd go and see my horse in Sydney. I really miss him at the moment. That's really lame. That's a lame answer, but I just would really go and see him.
You?
I'll go with Indy.
Aww.
I was going to, when Sammy was saying that was very lame, I'm like, well, my one is going to be even worse.
Oh, bless. And then last one, 13, what's one rule you live by in business?
Make sure you do something that you enjoy.
That's good. One rule, we always give our best shot in the first go.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Lift your hand.
People
now,
can't see
lift
this.
it higher. Why did you know that in the first place?
Because I believed in you.
No, because people don't do the first shot on the first go.
Yeah, why didn't you raise it as high as you could the first time?
You did. Because I was matching and mirroring his body language. And so I thought what he was doing was safe, but I didn't realize it was safer to go here.
You know what? Actually, one of my favorite pieces of advice is don't give the best of yourself to those who pay you and the rest to those who love you.
That was the base of why we do what we do right now.
Because Heraldo was giving the best of himself to those who paid him, and I just got the
we
tiny
almost
little rest.
we were in a very bad
that
place.
Meaning now I was a bit like trying to wrap my head around it, but yeah, one guy in the coffee shop this morning, asked me, what am I doing? And I said, I'm a business owner. And I explained, the podcast and beauty industry leaders and then bowling. And he said to me, I was a graphic designer. I started my own business, and 10 years in, I lost my marriage because I just never had time for that person. And I think that a lot of people can probably relate to being so stressed out, giving everything to the business and the clients to the point that you, once again, this whole gratitude piece, it's like you forget what you have right in front of you and you don't appreciate it because you don't realize that it exists.
Exactly.
Because you're focusing on everyone else and
For
everything
those ones who are not watching, Sammy was looking at Nick
staring into
in a
Nick's
very
eyes.
deeply way. Could you please repeat that way you look at him? Oh, sparks.
I love that.
All right.
And that's a wrap on today's episode with the powerhouse duo behind Studio 85, Indy and Heraldo. Thank you so much for sharing your journey so openly. If today's chat hit home for you and you're ready to stop drowning in admin, or you're simply curious about what's possible when you systemize the back end of your business, not your booty, make sure to check out the show notes for how to work with these two legends. Where's the best place for people to find and connect with you?
So our Instagram is studio85_, but I need to find a better way to say this. The spelling, not the numbers.
Yep. So STUDIOEIGHTYFIVE_.
Correct. Or studio85.info is our website.
Ooh, .info. You're definitely unique. No .com there.
No copycats here.
Amazing. As always, if you love this episode, don't forget to follow the show, leave a review, and come hang out with us on Instagram at Beauty Industry Leaders. We'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. Until next time, keep leading from the front, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Audience exclusive.